Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Be sure to subscribe to our channel. We publish new videos every day. Don't forget, grab your smartphone and download the Lava Matra app and stay in touch. Guru Maharaja's message is your advantage. The following is a Sri Caitanya book compilation given by His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Mahārāja on January 12th, 2022 in Sri Mayapur, India.
Sri Gurum Dhinatarinam Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu.
So today's class we are going to
The compilation of Sri Caitanya book.
hearing the glories of chanting Hare Kṛṣṇa from his Guru Īśvara Purī Mahārāja. Nimai Pandit practices and is amazed by the effect under the section How all the residents of Varanasi became Vaishnavas.
Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela 7.71.
প্রভুর সিনাম মাহাত্ম্য বর্ণন। প্রভু কহে শোনো শ্রীপাদ ইহার কারণ, গুরু মোরে মূর্খ দেখি করিল শাসন।
Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu replied to Prakashananda Saraswati, My dear sir, kindly hear the reason. My spiritual master considered me a fool, and therefore he chastised me. Purport. When Prakashananda Saraswati inquired from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu why he neither studied Vedanta nor performed meditation, Lord Chaitanya presented himself as a number one fool in order to indicate that the present age, Kali Yuga, is an age of fools and rascals, in which it is not possible to obtain perfection simply by reading Vedanta philosophy and meditating. The Shastras strongly recommend Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Iva Kevalam, Kalau Nasti Eva, Nasti Eva, Nasti Eva Gadiranyata. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is the chanting of holy name of the Lord. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. People in general in Kali Yuga are so fallen that it is not possible for them to obtain perfection simply by studying the Vedanta Sutra. One should therefore seriously take to the constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord.
Lord Chaitanya is showing how one
Lord Chaitanya is showing how one
should practice the Nama Sankirtana process
should practice the Nama Sankirtana process
by his personal example.
by his personal example. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela 7.72.
চৈতন্য চরিতামৃত আদি লীলা 7.72। মূর্খ তুমি তোমার নাহিক বেদান্ত অধিকার, কৃষ্ণ মন্ত্র জপ সদা এই মন্ত্র সার।
You are a fool, he said. You are not qualified to study Vedanta philosophy, and therefore you must always chant the holy name of Krishna. This is the essence of all mantras or Vedic hymns. Purport. Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj comments in this connection, one can become perfectly successful in this mission of his life if he acts exactly according to the words he hears from the mouth of his spiritual master. This acceptance of the words of the spiritual master is called Shrauta Vakya, which indicates that the disciple must carry out the spiritual master's instructions without deviation. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks in this connection that a disciple must accept the words of his spiritual master as his life and soul. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu here confirms this by saying that since his spiritual master ordered him only to chant the holy name of Krishna, he always chanted the Hare Kṛṣṇa Maha Mantra according to this direction. Krishna Mantra Japa Sada E Mantra Shara. Krishna is the origin of everything. Therefore, when a person is fully Krishna conscious, it is to be understood that his relationship with Krishna has been fully confirmed. Lacking Krishna consciousness, one is only partially related with Krishna and is therefore not in his constitutional position. Although Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the spiritual master of the entire universe, he nevertheless took the position of a disciple in order to teach by example how a devotee should strictly follow the order of a spiritual master in executing the duty of always chanting the Hare Kṛṣṇa Maha Mantra. One who is very much attracted to the study of Vedanta philosophy must take lessons from Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. In this age, no one is actually competent to study Vedanta, and therefore it is better that one chant the holy name of the Lord, which is the essence of all Vedic knowledge. As Krishna himself confirms in the Bhagavad Gita 15.15, Vedaisya sarvair aham eva vedyo vedanta krit vedavit eva chaham. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am a compiler of Vedanta and I am the knower of the Vedas. Only fools give up the service of the spiritual master and think themselves advanced in spiritual knowledge. In order to check such fools, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself presented the perfect example of how to be a disciple. A spiritual master knows very well how to engage each disciple in a particular duty, but if a disciple, thinking himself more advanced than his spiritual master, gives up his order and acts independently, he checks his own spiritual progress. Every disciple must consider himself completely unaware of the signs of Krishna and must always be ready to carry out the orders of the spiritual master to become competent in Krishna consciousness. A disciple should always remain a fool before his spiritual master. Therefore, sometimes pseudo-spiritualists accept a spiritual master who is not even fit to become a disciple because they want to keep him under their control. This is useless for spiritual realization. One who imperfectly knows Krishna consciousness cannot know Vedanta philosophy. A showy display of Vedanta study without Krishna consciousness is a feature of the external energy, Maya, and as long as one is attracted by the inebrities of this ever-changing material energy, he deviates from devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. An actual follower of Vedanta philosophy is a devotee of Lord Vishnu, who is the greatest of the great and the maintainer of the entire universe. Unless one surpasses the field of activities in service to the limited, one cannot reach the unlimited. Knowledge of the unlimited is actually Brahma Jnana, or knowledge of the Supreme. Those who are addicted to fruitive activities and speculative knowledge cannot understand the value of the holy name of Lord Krishna, which is always completely pure, eternally liberated, and full of spiritual bliss. One who has taken shelter of the holy name of the Lord, which is identical with the Lord, does not have to study Vedanta philosophy, for he has already completed all such study. One who is unfit to chant the holy name of Krishna, but thinks that the holy name is different from Krishna, and thus takes shelter of Vedanta study in order to understand him, must be considered a number one fool, as confirmed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by his personal behavior. And philosophical speculators who want to make Vedanta philosophy an academic career are also considered to be within the material energy. A person who always chants the holy name of the Lord, however, is already beyond the ocean of nescience. And thus, even a person born in a low family who engages in chanting the holy name of the Lord is considered to be beyond the study of Vedanta philosophy. In this connection, Srimad Bhagavatam 3.33.7 states, Aho bhata swapacho to gariyan yat jivagre vartate nama tubhyam te pustapas te juhuvu sashnurarya brahmanachur nama grananti ete. If a person born in a family of dog-eaters takes to the chanting of the holy name of Krishna, it is to be understood that in his previous life he must have executed all kinds of austerities and penances and performed all the Vedic yagyas. Another quotation states, Rig Vedo ta Yajur Vedaha Sama Vedo pi Adarvanaha Aditastena Yenoktang Harir iti Aksharadvayam. A person who chants the 2 syllables Hari has already studied the 4 Vedas, Sama, Rig, Yajur, Atharva. Taking advantage of these verses, there are some Sahajiyas who, taking everything very cheaply, consider themselves elevated Vaishnavas but do not care even to touch the Vedanta Sutra or Vedanta philosophy. A real Vaishnava should, however, study Vedanta philosophy. But if after studying Vedanta one does not adapt the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, he is no better than a Mayavadi. Therefore, one should not be a Mayavadi, yet one should not be unaware of the subject matter of Vedanta philosophy. Indeed, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited his knowledge of Vedanta in his discourses with Prakashananda Saraswati. Thus, it is to be understood that a Vaishnava should be completely conversant with Vedanta philosophy, yet he should not think that studying Vedanta is all in all and therefore be unattached to the chanting of the holy name. A devotee must know the importance of simultaneously understanding Vedanta philosophy and chanting the holy names. If by studying Vedanta one becomes an impersonalist, he has not been able to understand Vedanta. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15:15. Vedanta means the end of knowledge. The ultimate end of knowledge is knowledge of Krishna, who is identical with his holy name. Cheap Vaishnava Sahajyas do not care to study the Vedanta philosophy as commented upon by the 4 Acharyas. In the Gaudiya Sampradaya, there is a Vedanta commentary called the Govinda Bhasha, but the Sahajyas considered such commentaries to be untouchable philosophical speculation, and they consider the Acharyas to be mixed devotees. Thus, they clear their way to hell.
Lord Chaitanya was teaching by example
So Lord Chaitanya was teaching by example
how important it is to follow the instructions of one's spiritual master.
how important it is to follow the instruction of spiritual master,
And how the holy name of Krishna is not different from Krishna.
and how the holy names of Krishna is non-different from Krishna.
So if one chants the holy name of Krishna,
So if one chants the holy name of Krishna,
he directly is getting association from Krishna.
he is directly getting the association of Krishna.
He's getting purified,
He gets purified,
and by that naturally
and by that he is naturally
advancing in Krishna consciousness.
advancing in Krishna consciousness.
But one should not be envious against Vaishnavas.
But one should not be envious against Vaishnavas.
And by chanting Hare Krishna, thinking that they're very advanced.
By chanting Hare Krishna and thinking that they are very advanced.
They don't have to follow the acharyas or the guru.
And that they don't have to follow the acharyas or gurus.
That would make them sahajas.
And that makes them as sahajas. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela 7.73.
মন্ত্র ও মহামন্ত্র শ্রীনামে লীলা বৈচিত্র্য। কৃষ্ণ মন্ত্র হইতে হবে সংসার মোচন, কৃষ্ণ নাম হইতে পাবে কৃষ্ণের চরণ।
Simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, one can obtain freedom from material existence. Simply by chanting the holy names of Krishna, one can obtain freedom from material existence. Indeed, simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one will be able to see the Lord's lotus feet of the Lord. Purport. In his Anubhashya, Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami says that the actual effect that will be visible as soon as one achieves transcendental knowledge is that he will immediately become free from the clutches of Maya and fully engage in the service of the Lord. Unless one serves the Supreme Personality of Godhead Mukunda, one cannot become free from the fruitive activities under the external energy. However, when one chants the holy name of the Lord offenselessly, one can realize a transcendental position that is completely aloof from the material conception of life. Rendering service to the Lord, a devotee relates to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in one of 5 relationships, namely Shanta, Dasya, Shakya, Vatsalya or Madhurya, and thus he relishes transcendental bliss in that relationship. Such a relationship certainly transcends the body and mind. When one realizes that the holy name of the Lord is identical with the Supreme Person, he becomes completely eligible to chant the holy name of the Lord. Such an ecstatic chanter and dancer must be considered to have a direct relationship with the Lord. According to Vedic principles, there are 3 stages of spiritual advancement, namely Sambandha Jnana, Abhideya and Prayojana. Sambandha Jnana refers to establishing one's original relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Abhideya refers to acting according to that constitutional relationship, and Prayojana is the ultimate goal of life, which is to develop love of Godhead, Prema Pumartho Mahan. If one adheres to the regulative principles under the order of the spiritual master, he very easily achieves the ultimate goal of his life. A person who is addicted to the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra very easily gets the opportunity to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly. There is no need for such a person to understand the grammatical jugglery in which Mayavadi sannyasis generally indulge. Sri Sankaracharya also stressed this point, Nahi nahi rakshati dukrin karane. Simply by juggling grammatical suffixes and prefixes, one cannot save himself from the clutches of death. The grammatical word jugglers cannot bewilder a devotee who engages in chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Simply addressing the energy of the Supreme Lord as Hare and the Lord himself as Krishna very soon situates the Lord within the heart of the devotee. By thus addressing Radha and Krishna, one directly engages in his Lordship's service. The essence of all revealed scriptures and all knowledge is present when one addresses the Lord and his energy by the Hare Krishna mantra, for this transcendental vibration can completely liberate a conditioned soul and directly engage him in the service of the Lord. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu presented himself as a grand fool, yet he maintained that all the words that he had heard from his spiritual master strictly followed the principle stated by Vyasadeva in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.7.6. Anartho pashamam shakshat bhakti yogam adok saje lokas janato vidvams chakre satvata sanghitam. The material miseries of a living entity which are superfluous to him can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotional service. But the mass of people do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasadeva compiled this Vedic literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, which is in relation to the Supreme Truth. One can overcome all misconceptions and entanglement in the material world by practicing Bhakti Yoga, and therefore Vyasadeva, acting on the instruction of Sri Narada, has very kindly introduced Srimad Bhagavatam to relieve the conditioned souls from the clutches of Maya. Lord Chaitanya's spiritual master instructed him, therefore, that one must read Srimad Bhagavatam regularly and with scrutiny to gradually become attached to the chanting of Hare Kṛṣṇa Mahamantra. The holy name and the Lord are identical. One who is completely free from the clutches of Maya can understand this fact. This knowledge, which is achieved by the mercy of the spiritual master, places one on the supreme transcendental platform. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu presented himself as a fool because prior to accepting the shelter of a spiritual master, he could not understand that simply by chanting one can be relieved from all material conditions. But as soon as he became a faithful servant of his spiritual master and followed his instructions, he very easily saw the path of liberation. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's chanting of the Hare Kṛṣṇa mantra must be understood to be devoid of all offences. The 10 offences against the holy name are as follows. Number 1, to blaspheme a devotee of the Lord. Number 2, to consider the Lord and the demigods to be on the same level or to think that there are many gods. Number 3, to neglect the orders of the spiritual master. Number 4, to minimize the authority of the scriptures, Vedas. Number 5, to interpret the holy name of God. Number 6, to commit sins on the strength of the chanting. Number 7, to instruct the glories of the Lord's name to the unfaithful. Number 8, to compare the chanting of the holy name with material piety. Number 9, to be inattentive while chanting the holy name. And number 10, to be attached to material things in spite of chanting the holy name.
One chants the holy name, avoiding the 10 offenses.
So when one chants the holy name, avoiding the 10 offenses,
they can achieve a full realization.
then they can achieve the full realization.
Lord Chaitanya was saying how his guru, Īśvara Purī,
Lord Chaitanya was saying how his guru, Srila Īśvara Purī,
had given this instruction to him.
had given this instruction to him.
So this way, indirectly,
So in this way, indirectly,
he was telling all the Mayavadi sannyasis of Benares
he was telling all the Mayavadi sannyasis of Benares
how they could chant the Hare Kṛṣṇa Mahamantra
how they could chant the Hare Kṛṣṇa Mahamantra
and achieve all success.
and achieve all success.
চৈতন্য চরিতামৃত আদিলীলা 7.74 কলিযুগে কৃষ্ণ নামই একমাত্র উপাস্য নাম বিনা কলিকালে নাহি আর ধর্ম সর্বমন্ত্র সার নাম এই শাস্ত্র মর্ম
In this age of Kali, there is no religious principle other than the chanting of the holy name, which is the essence of all Vedic hymns. This is the purport of all scriptures. Purport. The principles of the Parampara system were strictly honored in previous ages, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga and Dwapara Yuga. But in the present age, Kali Yuga, people neglect the importance of this system of Shrauta Parampara, or receiving knowledge by disciplic succession. In this age, people are prepared to argue that they can understand that which is beyond their limited knowledge and perception through so-called scientific observations and experiments, not knowing that actual truth comes down to man from authorities. This argumentative attitude is against the Vedic principles, and it is very difficult for one who adopts it to understand that the holy name of Krishna is as good as Krishna himself. Since Krishna and his holy name are identical, the holy name is eternally pure and beyond material contamination. It is the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a transcendental vibration. The holy name is completely different from material sound, as confirmed by Narottam Das Thakura. Golokera Premadana Harinama Sankirtana. The transcendental vibration of Harinama Sankirtan is imported from the spiritual world. Thus, although materialists who are addicted to experimental knowledge and the so-called scientific method cannot place their faith in the chanting of the Hare Kṛṣṇa Maha Mantra, it is a fact that simply by chanting the Hare Kṛṣṇa mantra offenselessly, one can be freed from all subtle and gross material conditions. The spiritual world is called Vaikunta, which means without anxiety. In the material world, everything is full of anxiety, Kunta. Whereas in the spiritual world, Vaikunta, everything is free from anxiety. Therefore, those who are afflicted by a combination of anxieties cannot understand the Hare Kṛṣṇa mantra, which is free from all anxiety. In the present age, the vibration of the Hare Kṛṣṇa mantra is the only process that is in transposition beyond material contamination. Since the holy name can deliver a conditioned soul, it is explained here to be Sarva Mantra Sara, the essence of all Vedic hymns. A name that represents an object of this material world may be subjected to arguments and experimental knowledge. But in the absolute world, a name and its honor, the fame and the famous, are identical. And similarly, the qualities, pastimes, and everything else pertaining to the absolute are also absolute. Although Mayavadis profess monism, they differentiate between the holy name of the Supreme Lord and the Lord Himself. For this offense of Namaparada, they gradually glide down from their exalted position of Brahma-jnana, as confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam 10.2.32. Aruhya krichrena parang padam tataha patanti ado nadrita yushmat angrayaha. Although by severe austerities they rise to the exalted position of Brahma-jnana, they nevertheless fall down due to imperfect knowledge of the absolute truth. Although they profess to understand the Vedic mantra Sarvam Kalu Idam Brahma, Chandogya Upanishad 3.14.1, which means everything is Brahman, they are unable to understand that the holy name is also Brahman. If they regularly chant the Hare Kṛṣṇa mantra, however, they can be relieved from this misconception. Unless one properly takes shelter of the holy name, he cannot be relieved from the offensive stage in chanting the holy name.
So if we follow the Guru Parampara,
So if we follow the Guru Parampara
and follow the Shastras,
and follow the Shastras,
the Shastras say in every age,
the Shastra is saying that in every age,
the different process of austerity.
There are different processes of austerity
And self-realization.
and self-realization.
And Jayapataka Drishtum, Jayapataka Rajatakai, Rajayam Radhisarayam, Kalo Tantadikir Tadat. That in the Kali Yuga, a process
That in Kali Yuga, the process
is chanting the holy name of Krishna.
is chanting the holy name of Krishna.
So they don't follow this.
But they don't follow this.
They do all kinds of speculations.
They do all kinds of speculations.
Material scientific observation
Material scientific observation
can only give one unlimited information.
can only give one an limited information.
And obviously, like, there are unlimited millions of universes.
Obviously, there are unlimited millions of universes.
They can hardly see much in this one universe.
They can hardly see much just in this one universe.
And then beyond the material world,
And beyond this material world,
and the spiritual world,
there are spiritual world,
which is 3/4 of the energy of the Lord.
which is the 3/4 of the energy of the Lord,
They have no access to this.
and they have no access to this.
What they can see in this universe is also very limited.
But they can see that in this, they can only see that in this universe is also limited.
And this is a slight information they speculate.
And this is their slight information which they speculate
What it actually means.
and what it actually means.
Why chanting Hare Kṛṣṇa and why attending to pure Krishna consciousness.
So by chanting Hare Krishna and attaining the pure Krishna consciousness,
One can realize the whole absolute truth.
one can realize the whole absolute truth.
And this is what the Divine Grace, and this is what the Vedanta was encouraging.
And this is what is Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami encouraging.
I went to the material chanting Guru Parampara. The one accepts the shelter of the Guru Parampara.
And one accept the shelter of Guru Parampara.
To thus practice Krishna consciousness as it is.
And by practicing Krishna consciousness as it is.
So, we'll end here.
So we will end here.
Do you like our ad-free videos? Be sure to subscribe to our channel. We publish new videos every day, and don't forget to like and share our channel.